Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Seesaw or Chris, and today we're talking about Final Fantasy XIV in 2019. Now, we're taking a little bit of a break from leveling today, which I know is super sad for those people who want me to be even higher level than I currently am. But today we're going to be looking at crafting, because this is something that people in the comments have been telling me is super different about Final Fantasy XIV, and that it's one of their favorite crafting systems in any MMO. So I was like, hey, let's do it. It also really went to the point of me trying to complete a lot of these blue quests, because I've left quite a few of them, and I'm told they're very important to do. So it's kind of, two birds, one stone here. And we're going to check out carpentry. So we went to the carpentry guild place. Pretty cool little area, nothing super special. It's already kind of cool that it's called a guild. It makes me feel like I'm part of a fancy club or something like that. I mean, it's always kind of a club to be a part of a profession in any game, but it's sometimes like you just don't get the feeling that the other profession trainers know of the other ones in other cities. Calling it a guild makes it really seem like it's an official sort of trade of Final Fantasy. So pretty cool for that. But what I did realize is that you actually change classes technically when you're doing when you're crafting, which is really cool, and I think really drives home the point of the fact that whatever weapon you're holding, you're a different class. But that's also something very different from pretty much any MMO I've played, where you actually have to equip a different weapon to be able to do your crafting. Because, WoW is where I've probably spent the most amount of time crafting stuff. With the recent expansion, I've been an alchemist. Not that the recent expansion's been very good for professions, which is unfortunate because saying that, it hasn't been very good for anything. But anyways, I'm an alchemist, and there's not really any tools. I mean, you need vials and you need the actual materials and stuff like that. But certainly I've never had to change out my main weapon to be a profession or to do a profession in WoW. That might have been something that they had way back in vanilla. I don't know. I haven't actually played it. I'm excited for classic, but I haven't played vanilla WoW, so I don't know if that's something that like used to be in the game and they've taken it out. But either way, it makes the profession feel like such a much bigger choice for Final Fantasy, and that's kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing. I think the good side of it is when you are doing the profession, you feel very much you're a part of that world, right? Like you've got your saw out, you have your table down, and you're crafting some stuff, and you do have the focus, which is a whole nother point that we'll get to in a second. But whereas World of Warcraft, you could like literally do a couple crafts while you're waiting for your tank to pull in a dungeon, because you just don't need to switch everything out, right? You can really quickly just whip out alchemy and whip up two vials while you're waiting for like 10 seconds. Now, once I get experienced with carpentry, that might become the case. But I definitely feel like there's more of a process where you actually have to change the weapon, and if you got in combat, you probably couldn't change the weapon, or who knows if you can in dungeons. It's a whole different thing. So kind of a pro and con thing there, but it leads into a much bigger pro, which I was kind of going to early on here, is that it's much more complicated to do professions. I don't just have a button that says, forge or whatever. Like there's not a button that I just click and it automatically does it. I have to, at the moment, I've got one key. I end up getting 3 keys by the end of this video. The first one is the key that would just sort of progress the craft. And each time you push it, it's like you're kind of like cutting once with your saw, right? That's kind of how I feel like you're taking a slice with your saw. And each single action key has a chance to fail depending on how high the craft level is compared to how high your level is. And you need to do enough of them to complete the progress bar before the durability runs out, right? And that's kind of how you're going to complete a craft. And already I felt a lot more involved with the craft, whereas World of Warcraft, you would have sort of the orange looking crafts that are of higher level, and there would just be a certain amount of chance that when you hit craft, that it would fail or it would pass. And it was a lot simpler that way, right? Whereas this one, it's like each stroke could be a fail, or if I know that I'm very brand new to the craft, I know that I need all 6 strokes or whatever it is. So even if I fail the first one, I'm like, well, I have to give up the craft because I'm just not going to be able to finish. So that's really cool. But that doesn't even get into the more exciting part of things, which is the number 2 ability that works on the quality. So whenever you do a number 2, it takes some durability, but it adds a bit to the quality bar at the bottom here. And that increases the quality of the item you're crafting. So, and I haven't done it enough to really actually notice an impact on any items. I don't know if you actually have to get it to like a certain percentage or something like that. I'm sure that's something that will become more obvious as I make more crafting videos. And I probably should have led. I should have started this video. This is not a crafting guide. This is not an expert teaching people how to craft. This is a new player experiencing Final Fantasy's crafting system for the first time. So, manage expectations here. I'm not here to give you all the secrets because I have none of the secrets. So there we go. But like I say, it increases the quality of the craft the more you do. But it takes away from your total, what's the word I'm looking for now? Your total ability to use actions, right? There's a certain amount of actions you can do on an item, right? And it's either the one that progresses it or the one that improves quality. And it's kind of a balancing act to try and make it so that it's as good as it can get, which I mean by quality, but it's still finished so that the craft actually completes and it doesn't fail, right? So very interesting to have that bar and to balance it that way. And I think certainly when you get to more like crafts that will actually be worn by people in game that you actually want as gear at different times, it's going to become super risk reward to try and get a really good item, but still have it succeed. So I'm super excited about that. And depending on how the system actually carries into the end game, and this is huge speculation on my part, if there is a lot of like ability to play with these values, you could have people that are able to craft super powerful weapons compared to people who are just able to mass produce pretty generic ones, which would make a very interesting market for people. And I actually haven't even looked at the auction house in this game, and I'm pretty sure they do have one, and I know it's called something else, so I apologize for using the incorrect term, but it would be interesting to see if there is like different quality of the same item that are selling at different prices. Very interesting. The third and final skill I do get from this, and you'll notice here if I'm talking about things I don't have, I'm kind of doing the voiceover after the fact here. I thought it just lent itself better so I could collect my my thoughts before rambling on while I'm trying to figure things out. The third skill that I end up getting here is one that actually resets sort of the bar that I have, my resource for the crafting. So I can do some quality, I can do some progress on it, and then I can sort of reset that and do a bit more, I believe. Now, I haven't pushed much further with the skill, and I'm really excited to see what the limitations are of it, because I certainly feel like there will be limitations. You're not just going to be able to do max quality max. Like, there's going to be a cooldown, right? And you guys can probably even read the tooltip here. But it's definitely cool to have all these skills that you're balancing. And I assume the more I progress, the more skills I get with the more unique effects. So I'm very interested to see how it plays out. It's certainly the crafting system, I'd say, that puts the most on the player to actually like perform the craft. For instance, Guild Wars 2 has a fairly unique system in terms of how many different components can go in to a craft and like discovering the different components. There's a bit of a mix and match thing, but like you're always just going to go online and look up what the actual recipe is. So it kind of devalues it. This one forces the player to always be very engaged with the craft. And I'm going to have to see how I feel about that after I've crafted a whole bunch. It might become something that's a nuisance to me, but I do believe it'll be something that really makes me feel more achieved when I do actually craft something of good quality. When I do achieve something that's like, hey, that was actually pretty like touch and go for a bit there. I'm excited to see how this item turns out. So that's my thoughts on crafting. Certainly more videos to come for crafting and for Final Fantasy in general. But crafting, super cool. And this is just one of, I'm sure, many professions in the game too. So I'm excited to explore horizontally as well as vertically. But guys, thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, we are Tiny Blue Games. We make very casual gaming videos, mostly for MMORPGs, and recently for Final Fantasy, we've been doing a ton of videos because we've just had so much support, and I can't say enough for how thankful I am. But yeah, if you like the video, please toss it a like. If you have a comment, say it in the comments below. I do try to reply to any comment I get. Sometimes it takes a while if there is a lot of comments coming in, but I promise I will get to your comment eventually if you do leave one. And of course, we'd love to have you subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. But until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.